Welcome everyone to my Friday chess stream here on lichess. International Master William Paschall. We're streaming on lichess as Sparkle Horse, and we're streaming on Twitch. Our handle there is Slaggy. We're actually playing on lichess and streaming on Twitch, to be more exact. For some reason I had to reopen my board, but that's alright. Just a minor inconvenience as we get started here. So it's Friday, guys, and tomorrow's my wonderful day off. But gotta do it. Gotta have a day off every week. Otherwise, you get kind of burned out from the chess. I highly recommend if you find yourself having bad results and kind of like I don't know, getting burned out, take a little time away from the game, even if it's just one day or even if it's just a few hours. Sometimes playing too much can be bad for you, so I find it very useful to have a day where I just don't even think about chess. Alright, we are going to play Blitz and Classical here with all the viewers. Crow, good to have you. Welcome to the chat, guys, to our Slaggy chat on Twitch. Today we're playing for 2.5 hours till 12:30, from 10 to 12:30 CET, every Monday to Friday is the normal routine. We're playing Blitz and Classical chess with time controls between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment. I want to mention that Crow challenged me to Chess 960, and this is something that we haven't done very much lately, but I am willing to play. I usually set the limit at two Chess 960 games per stream. We did do it for a while, but for some time there just wasn't anyone interested in challenging. But I'm of the opinion that Chess 960 is good for your game and helps you to develop better understanding of piece coordination in particular. So I doubt that Chess 960 is going to take over the chess world and become the new form of chess like maybe Bobby Fischer imagined, but who knows what lies ahead in the future. So M47, Constant Change, Mule Skinner, Crow, Epitetos, and Suvik. I did notice, I was mentioning that Suvik and Constant Change were similar yesterday, but you guys are from the same country, same rating, but it looks like Constant Change is a little bit higher rated than Suvik, so you guys are really close in strength, but maybe Constant Change is just a little higher rated. Anyway, tough games from both Constant Change and Suvik, who drew me the first 2 games out of the gate yesterday. Very tough. Usually those guys are playing quickly. Kind of glad to get someone who's not a blitz, who's not blitzing me for the first game, M47. I did have a couple warm-up games though as we get started here. Please challenge me to some kind of time controls between 5 and 8 minutes with a small time increment like 3 to 5 seconds. With the longer time controls, the 8-minute time controls, just 3 seconds is more than enough. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to play E4 to open things up. Okay, M47. Yesterday, M47, you were playing the white side of Nimzovich opening, or Larson B3, and I noticed you asked a question and I didn't understand. You mistyped like knight C3 instead of knight F3, but now I can answer your question. I mean, it would be fine to allow like the game yesterday. It would be fine to allow bishop takes F3. I mean, that's transposing to a pretty standard sort of setup. Bishop takes F3. Both E takes F3 and G takes F3, I guess. So French defense. Yeah, I ought to play something. Critical here. I have had some rough games in this Tarash. I'm trying to learn to play the Tarash with white. Okay, good morning to you all. What's your opinion on the Hu Yifan scandal? Mule Skinner, you're gonna need to clue me in because I'm not up on the scandal. I actually messed up and I don't know the latest gossip. So you fill me in on what's going on because you're gonna have to tell me. I'm out of the loop. I know Hu Yifan played in Gibraltar. We were just talking about that yesterday, but I'm not aware of what's going on. So please do tell me what you are referring to, the scandal in question. I'm going to play old school here. E takes D. Knight F3 is kind of a more popular move. Hu Yifan resigned after like 4 moves. Against who? I mean, that's not a joke. I'm not joking. I mean, which opponent was she playing when she resigned with 4 moves? She wasn't playing on one of the top boards. I mean, not really a factor in that tournament. Too many strong players. So, I like this M4-7. I like classically playing the isolated pawn type positions. So the moves were G4, F3, D3. Oh, she was white and did this ridiculous stuff. Babu Lailis, some Indian guy. Yeah, right. Well, he's playing a lot. I saw him here, I think. In the summertime. Don't know either of them personally, but what's the word on the street, you know? I don't know. Bishop E5, I guess. Am I supposed to play Bishop E5 here? Why am I spacing on this position? Not really, right? So, it was a protest, but why? Like her pairing she didn't like, or what? Like she suspected someone of cheating? Is that what we're talking about? Like, does anybody have a clue? Because there could be various reasons, but it's like, it's a very immature way of protesting. I mean, you know, if you had a problem, it'd probably be best just to like not make any moves, or, you know, just not play the game at all. Kind of bizarre. No one should care about every little unjustified rant. Well, I mean, I just don't have a clue, you know. I mean, she got paired with 7 out of 10 woman. What? What do you mean she got paired with 7 out of 10 women? How could she possibly get paired with 7 out of 10 women? Is there even that many? There's not even that many women in the tournament. Resigned against him. Who knows? I mean, maybe she's just... I don't know, guys. It may just be an unjustified rant. Maybe there was something to it. Not enough information. That would be my opinion. Not enough information to really come up with something. So M4-7 played knight F6. I mean, typically you play like knight E7 in this line, M4-7. So that's a bit unusual. Knight E7 like obstructs the possibility of bishop G5 being relevant. But I guess like knight F6 is a line as well. White's position is pretty conservative. A la Karpov. Yeah, I mean, so every time I say so, I think of Wesley. Such an awesome name, you know, so simple. Is it worth it to play bishop G5? C3 is a typical move, this kind of position, but I kind of like bishop G5. The FIDE Swiss rules, so it's something about pairings. She protested with a 5 move. She got paired with women 7 out of 10 times. How could someone, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's surprising there would be enough women strong enough for her to get paired with 7 times. Her rating is such, though, that I mean, what does she want? Like to play like 2700s? It's not a round robin. I mean, she's got a very high rating, and she's going to be paired down most of the time in that kind of tournament. You know, I could complain that I'm constantly playing 2000 players, but you know, most people are happy they get to play weak players and rack up a lot of points. If she was playing to play strong players or something, you're in the wrong place. You know, you shouldn't be playing a Swiss tournament. It's really bad form. I mean, she's probably getting some kind of appearance fee too, and it doesn't sound good. So, I mean, it doesn't sound justified, whatever it was. It's a very immature way of doing it, no matter what happened, but you know, this is something that should be protested in a different way. Rook e8. If it's about the pairings, that's really childish. Alright, let's just go ahead and play c3. Blockade the d4 square. This is the main idea. But I never met Hu Yifan. She played here in Budapest years ago. For whatever reason, I wasn't playing in those months when she was here. I do recall that, though. She was a sensation even back whenever that was. What would Anatoly Karpov do? Oh, the rook e1. Bishop h4, I think, is a move. This is I don't know. I do think this is one of Black's best lines, though, in general. Don't be afraid of the isolated pawn. I think this is like a principled approach for Black. You like to play with other against IQP Oder. Not sure what you mean, but I do think this is like Black's probably best way to equalize in this line. It almost seems like she's offended that they were like pairing her with women on purpose because she's a woman or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's crazy. I don't know. Chess players are crazy. It's a Swiss system. You're getting probably some appearance fee. You're going to play a lot of weaker players in that kind of situation. When you have a rating like her, like 2600, there's all these players who are 2200, 2300, 2400 in the field. Majority of the time, you're going to get paired down unless you're playing exceptionally well. I mean, that's how like my Hungarian colleague Galyas Miklós, like for example, finished second in Hastings. He had a 2500 rating. He almost didn't play anybody the whole tournament. I mean, if your rating is kind of in the upper half but not at the very top, like Hu Yifan, I would think she's going to just constantly play down a lot of the time. I mean, unless she beats the top player she plays, like the short or whoever, she's going to keep getting paired down relentlessly. It's pretty standard kind of tournament. She has a perfect rating for like winning a good prize, I would think, where she just keeps getting paired down over and over again. Queen d6, yes. So what I need to do is play like rook e1 at some point and maybe knight to d4. But actually, this is good training for me too, m4-7, because I'm actually new to this Tarrasch for white. You know, I've played a handful of games, but majority of players don't go into the IQP positions. And now here, this looks like something out of a Karpov game. Maybe rook e1. I may have misplayed this. I'm really not sure. Why do you guys even care? They're bored, and they you know, they like gossipy scandals like the rest of the world. Good question. Anyway, I don't care that much, but it's kind of, I'm not really a gossip person. But you know, sometimes you just can't resist. But I was hoping for something more juicy, you know, like the guy was like cheating with the computer or something. You know, she was protesting, suspected cheater, but protesting the pairings, that's pretty lame. Right, 94 looks good. So what do we got here? Nothing. Looks like we've got nothing. The good old 100% nothing. Maybe knight b d4? Actually, I don't know which way to go, but this really looks like nothing land for white. We're also short of time. You can't believe Naka won. Why? Naka was like one of the favorites. He's the only player who like played consistently amongst the top players without getting upset or giving away draws. Actually, he had a couple draws. He did have a couple draws. He got nicked for some draws, but he didn't overpress. Actually, it's impressive. Naka's kind of chilled out, you know, and so he's one of the few players at the top of that field who didn't do some stupid thing where they overpressed against one of the weaker players. Topalov lost to Anton. Gelfand lost to Anton. Ivanchuk makes crazy, like, space cadet things. It's really hard when you're one of the top seeds in those type of tournaments to not push too hard against the weaker players. That's how most of the time you lose. And it looks like Naka managed to not do that, you know, in any of his games. By the way, his game in the last round against Romain Edouard was like beautiful. That game, I could make a video out of that game. It's a beautiful, like, you know, trying to just outstrip the guy in development game. Just really nice. Just crushed him. Now bishop f5. This is a surprising move, but in a sense, okay, m4-7 wants to avoid exchanges because he has an isolated pawn. So I guess this is sort of principled. Problem is, it's kind of complicated, and I don't really know what to do here. f3. Not a big fan of f3. Black seems fully equal here. Slightly weakening myself with a4. Not sure if it's a good idea. Bishop f5 is weird, but it is principled, you know, because knight takes f5, queen takes f5. He has a lot of pressure on f2. He's trying to avoid exchanges. This is an exchange, but it's not really what I would want. To trade his bad bishop for my strong blockading knight on d4. Not my favorite exchange. This. I hope that I'm not overextending myself on the queen side. Just trying to imitate some Karpov games that I've seen. I mean, it gives me a little extra space. Maybe I could use my rook laterally, like via a4. But I'm having a little trouble finding a home for all my pieces here. I'm just flagging. I mean, I don't know what to do. Maybe bishop f3. Knight d4, bishop f3. Black is fully equal. Maybe more than equal. His tactics here. Like 95 was interesting. Uh-oh. My mouse went crazy there. I didn't want to play bishop takes e4, but I was about to lose on time. My optical mouse just froze on me. Alright, well, Oder is German for Ohr. It's okay. Yeah, sorry guys, black was better. But my optical mouse was failing, and I was about to lose on time. So bishop takes e4 was not the best move. Obviously, I just made this in panic mode. But black is a little better here. I think he actually had 95 looks interesting. 95 here, and I think the black is... I have to take, probably. No, I can't take. I have to take on e4, and black seems slightly better. After 95, bishop takes e4. It looks like pawn takes e4, bishop takes e5, takes on e5. I think black is slightly better, so well played. Constant change is up 8-3. Mouse battery drop gambit. Black was clearly in charge there. I did not get anything. It'll be interesting though. That's the first one of those IQP positions I've played on the stream here. Maybe I'll play knight f3 instead of e takes d like everybody else from now on. It doesn't seem very fun. Very technical kind of like position to play with the blitz time control. Honestly, I wouldn't mind playing white. You know, with it's kind of like playing the Marazzi. You need a lot of time to play precise moves. Not really a great line for a really fast time control. Very strategic and time consuming. All right, constant change. We'll play the Caro-Kann like we did against Suvik yesterday. Yeah, no, M47 is playing well. He's been back to the stream for the first time in a while, and he's played some good games. Mainline Caro-Kann. Yesterday, Suvik played an advanced variation against me. I've always played knight d7 and knight f6 in the past, but I'm kind of working on bishop f5. So we'll stick with our theme. You know, I'm tempted. It's more fun to play knight f6, but I need to learn this for black. So here, knight f3 right away. White does not play h4. h4 being by far the main continuation. And this move, black has a lot of choices. Knight d7 is kind of against knight e5. Now he plays h4. So we transpose. He does avoid some variations, I guess. This is kind of like the main line. For a long time, some years ago, there's been a lot of debate about whether to play h5 or not, because although that was classically the main variation, the pawn does drop off sometimes in endgames. So there's a question as to whether white is better off. And there's also variations with rook h4. This is like an old line that no one really plays anymore, but there is a main line with the move rook h4. So This is probably like the most main line of the classical Caro-Kann. And now constant change played bishop d2, which is interesting. Not as common as bishop f4. This was played recently. I was thinking black can play some very interesting lines here with a5, a4, try to start an attack on the queen side with a quick a4. This is fairly rare, but I thought like an interesting try against bishop d2. If he's not going to play bishop f4, queen a5, bishop d2, queen c7, and he's going to try to castle queenside quickly, we can try to play for quick counterplay. This is not a novelty. I mean, I found this. This is a move that's been played before. It's kind of a typical idea later on for black, but I thought playing against queenside castling, kind of interesting option here for black. Something kind of dynamic. Anyway, YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. That's where I upload all the streams if you guys want to see the stream later. Of course, they are actually maintained for like 2 weeks here on Twitch, but either way. Now he goes bishop f4. That doesn't seem consistent to me. He plays bishop d2, I play a5. Now he plays bishop f4. Yeah, it's a good square for the bishop. No question about that, but he is moving into second time, so it seems a little bit inefficient to move that piece a second time, straight out of the gate. My new phrase for the day, out of the gate. So what do we do here? I think we play consistently. A4, we might be able to make use of that space. And in the meantime, white abandons that plan of castling queenside, which is a little scary for black in many situations. So it's not your typical line. E6, obviously I have to castle kingside in most instances. I was thinking about queen a5, but I think development here is of the essence. Anyway, most of our pawns are on the right color. You know, I played a4, not only to gain space, but also to give us, yes, this square a5, but also, ultimately, we don't end up with like a pawn stuck on the dark squares on a5, where it can be vulnerable to his bishop. It's not really a major factor though. So yeah, I like bishop f4 as putting the bishop on a good square. It's just a question whether, you know, he's wasting time. But I wasted a lot of time with a5, a4, so I think bishop f4 is fine. I didn't want to overly criticize that move. He could also have, well, he takes away this diagonal from me. You know, maybe it's a professional move. I haven't analyzed this variation in great depth. I don't really know. You know, for all I know, bishop f4 is the main move for white. I would think that most people would be reluctant to move that piece, but it makes some sense to take away this diagonal. That's usually a good line for black to try to use. You know, this diagonal for bishop d6 and queen c7. That's the most active way for black to develop. So, makes sense. c4, and typical Slav situation. If he plays d5, I did do this in the Caro-Kann video on my YouTube channel. The game Van Foris versus Lamy recently. I mean, Lamy played a different line where he played rook c8, but the structure is the same. And my point in the video was illustrating like how dangerous it is for black to ever allow like d5 in any circumstances, whether it's the Caro-Kann and whether it's the Scandinavian, they're interrelated openings. d5 will kind of destroy black's position, so we want to make sure that doesn't happen under any normal circumstances. All right. Black's position seems tough. C4 and D5 coming. Well, how is he going to play D5 exactly, Prukro? I mean, his knights, you know, it's not like he has a knight on C3. I mean, it's not so easy to play D5. I have pretty much everything guarding D5. So, and his queen is hanging on the D file. And he can play Rook D1, but I think this is, there it is, Rook D1. I don't know which rook is better, but castling kingside. And he doesn't have a kingside attack. I mean, maybe, but, you know, he's not like castling queenside throwing everything at me. He can try, but not so easy to throw everything but the kitchen sink at me when we're castled on the same side, like in a position like this. So it's not that easy to sacrifice against black's kingside and try to checkmate me or something. And speaking of d5, I mean, I could even play rook a5 or queen a5. Rook e1 looks very normal. I'll just make classic moves. This is good. If necessary, I can play maybe bishop f8 to guard h6. You could argue that white's a little better here. Space advantage and whatnot. But anyway, just like the last game, I'm kind of on my own. This is new to me, because I never played the bishop f5 Caro-Kann seriously. I don't think I ever played a single tournament game. Although I've played quite a few Caro-Kanns, usually with always knight d7 or knight f6. So it's kind of new. Problem here is that he's got the d file completely controlled. So if I take and trade queens, it's a little awkward. On the other hand, knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, queen takes d3, rook takes d3, knight h7, rook d7. That looks good for white. Not threatening anything. I guess we can play c5. Then d5 starts to be a problem. Bishop b4, rook e2. So our position is still pretty solid. It's kind of difficult to come up with a plan here. Queen a5, knight takes d7. That's the problem. He's going to have d5 at the end of the day. Again, I don't know how dangerous it is objectively. Queen b6 is interesting. I'm just going to sit tight here for the moment and bring the bishop back to a square where it protects my king. Try to hunker down. We are getting in time pressure. Fortunately, bishop d6 wasn't good. Knight takes f7. But I still think that black is fairly solid here. Wow. Okay. Adventurous. He's sacrificing a piece. But I mean, I'm glad I played bishop f8 because there's no mate on g7. Now it looks like I'm a little skeptical about this for white. The f7 square. If nothing else, I'm a good defender. That's probably my greatest strength as a chess player. I've definitely been in scarier situations than this. Playing the black side of the Scheveningen for years and facing the Curie's attack, you know, is like a really good way to steel yourself against attacking play from aggressive opponents. If you play the Scheveningen for a good 10 years or 15 years, face a lot of g4. It's not a bad way to kind of like, after that it's like lifting heavy weights and then picking up something lighter. It's really like this attack, while maybe sound, maybe not, it's just not, it's not as scary as some things. So our main goal is to meet knight f5 with queen f7, of course. But bishop f8, I feel like Constant Change made a mistake in a practical sense. Even if this is a sound sacrifice, he had me tied down with very little space, and I think he's how to say, you know, he's going for it too early here. You know, he's cashing in his chips too early, to make a poker analogy. So, but anyway, I mean, queen f7 is perfect because that's like the coordination I need. My queen was a problem. You know, it never really found its correct placement. Bishop f8, just in time, guarding g7. I wasn't really satisfied with my position. I thought white's better after bishop f8, but he needs to just slowly increase his advantage, not cash in with a sacrifice right away. He's got 2 pawns for a piece. I mean, it may just not be sound. That's the first problem. It's probably not enough. Wish I had like rook a5 right about now. But nothing else. We have knight h7. Rook a5 starting to look interesting for sure. Be our other knight. Okay, it's a blitz game, guys. So we shouldn't fear, but we do have to move quickly. My knights are redundant here. It's not what I was ideally hoping for. Like Lasker, we're trying to make the most out of the space that we've got. At the moment, I can't exchange on g6. I guess there I could have played bishop b4. Bishop b4 instead. Might have been a better move. As here he has some options. It's not really a sound sacrifice. Unnecessary reaction by white. puts himself in a desperate situation. And I think he was just better. Just simple chess. D5. How does D5 work? Doesn't. And the easy answer is it doesn't. He's just, as my friend FIDE Master Charles Hertan would say, jettisoning his act. So I guess I can take either way here. Just up a piece. Pretty much everything's protected. Oh, he traded queens though. Constant change. Never trade queens when you're down a piece. He's kind of given up hope. That bishop was in the way. One thing I'd rather avoid is trading material. There aren't that many pawns left on the board, so I think the white is justified not to resign, you know, in this kind of position. When there's only 4 pawns left, there is some significant chance, like for example, you could, in fact, I'm not going to trade that pawn. We can maybe surround the pawn on h6. Let's improve our position first. Stopping knight g4. Got to get this pawn. Yes. That's best. I don't really have a lot of time left. Wow, you missed knight c3, forking the pawns. I would have had to play a3, sacrifice one of my pawns to keep things going there. The optical mouse, which we love dearly. 2 knights are better than 1. Yes. Okay, it doesn't matter if he trades off 1 pawn at this point. Well, I could have won a piece there. It's pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. Could have won a piece with check. Panicking because of the time here. Small threat. Okay. Well, constant change. Okay, thank you for the game. Unnecessary sacrifice. You had a really nice space advantage, and I think against Mule Skinner, wanted to try something experimental here. The Philidor. I never really played the Philidor, but I've been thinking about this variation with taking on d4. Kind of interesting. It is possible to play g6 and bishop g7 like a King's Indian, but in those lines it seems like White just plays like it's a Yugoslav attack and gets a very strong sort of attacking position. But I wanted to think about playing this Philidor with exchanging on d4. It's been played by some strong players, notably like Nispianu. So by my teammate, Grandmaster Varga Zoltan. Bishop d3 here. Now, once you play bishop d3, I'm tempted to switch gears and play g6. It's not the best setup for a Yugoslav type of thing. So now I can switch to a King's Indian motif. Blue Crow would have sacked too. It was fun. Not me, man. I mean, this wasn't really... You know, White was fighting for a draw. It was worse than the Cochrane Gambit. You guys may not know, the Cochrane Gambit, knight takes f7 against the Petrov, is sound probably for White, but if it's played badly, then White's just like groveling for a draw. No, I think that constant change had such a strong position. It's a sin to sacrifice a piece there, because I was almost in a position where I can't improve my position. I couldn't exchange knights on e5, and that's the main thing. If I could exchange knights on e5, my game would have been okay, but every time I exchange knights on e5, I lose control of the d file, and when he takes back with the pawn on e5, my knight has nowhere to go. So long as I can't play knight takes e5, White should just maintain the space advantage. So Philidor, my first Philidor, maybe ever. I mean, I must have played it in an offhand game here or there, but not that I can really recall. But I just thought it's a very forcing line, something to add to the repertoire. No, I'm not saying that the Cochrane Gambit is bad. I mean, I've studied it to some extent. I played the Petrov, and it's sound, but like when it goes bad, like a bad Cochrane Gambit, I mean, honestly, I think that the Cochrane Gambit is sort of similar. Like you're giving away your advantage to pursue this kind of dubious attack. So, but it's fun. Now bishop g5. You know, this looks a little strange. This whole diagonal is looking kind of weak for White. But I'm not sure there's anything I can do concretely to take advantage of it right away. Maybe h6. White has got some kind of like queen f3, perhaps. I would like to just castle, and that gives me some extra options. But we want to get rid of this pin. This pin is our major issue here. You guys realize that, of course. Bad bishop on d3. But it does secure the pawn on e4. I mean, there's something to be said for this move. you know, that it's not pretty, but that pawn is a very important point for white. So I don't like making unnecessary pawn moves, and h6 could fall into that category. Maybe I could play like c6 instead. But I was concerned about, I guess I was concerned with queen f3. But it would have been okay to just wait a move, you know, play c6 and then h6 if queen f3, I guess. Maybe better. So we can break the pin in some lines with queen b6. This pawn is difficult for him to put pressure on with the bishop and all those pieces on the file. You like knight c6 for black? Yeah, knight c6 for black is also fine. You know, you can play it even right here probably. Yeah, maybe perfectly viable move. This way I'm leaving him with a strong knight on d4. But there's a couple plans with c6. I mean, first of all, I can get my queen out of the pin. Secondly, maybe I'll just play d5 at some point, depending on what white does. But I've played like everything against Mule Skinner, so we've played 50 games. I'm 42 games, 43. I thought we'd try something new here. But I kind of think that maybe Plucro is right. I know there are people here who play the Philidor. I don't know if any of them are here today, but we have had several opponents who do play the Philidor regularly on the stream. Now castles. It's not necessary to castle. I might be able to play other ideas here, but one thing you don't want to do is probably play g5 too early, because the f5 square is very weak. Welcome everyone to the stream today. I'm International Master William Paschall. We're playing Blitz and Classical Chess here against viewers. You can challenge me if you can get a game. We've still got a big waiting list. Plucro, Epthetos, Corwin, CH Legends. It looks like we're basically full. I think that'll be all the games for the day, more or less. But someone may drop, so if one more player wants to challenge, you have a good shot at playing today. I mean, queen b6 is possible here. White can play it as a kind of pawn sacrifice, though. That looks kind of nasty. Knight d2, queen takes b2, knight c4 with d6 hanging. I think we're going to delay that. We're going to delay that action. All right, let's play knight d7. One of many moves I can play, but it's King's Indian. It's like a King's Indian. We've got knight c5, knight e5. Possibilities are endless. And reinforcing f6 a little bit. But if I had to choose a side, I guess white's still a little bit better here. He has stronger central pawn. If you look in terms of pawn structure at the position, we have a slightly backward pawn on d6, and white's center with the pawn on e4, strong knight on d4, gives him a slight advantage. And it's up to black to find a way to free the position without creating too many weaknesses. Do you prefer e4 or d4, as white said? I am Minky. Yeah, I mean, I guess my heart is more d4. I've played d4 a lot more, so I don't know if I prefer it, but I feel more comfortable with it. You know, I'd like to be a really swashbuckling e4 player, but to be honest, it always feels like the French game I had against M47 earlier. I'm a little hesitant when I play e4. I mean, there's some variations I know very well, and I feel very comfortable, but other positions where I'm, like against the French, I'm not that comfortable. So there's still a lot of openings where I don't feel like I'm as comfortable. Whereas with d4, I feel like I'm well prepared against almost anything, or I have been well prepared at some point. Of course, I play flank openings too. But I think the flank openings like c4, knight f3 are a little closer to d4 than e4, obviously. Yeah, so Zen Chess mentioned knight c6 earlier. This is a problem. I mean, he has a strong knight. It's very difficult to get rid of that piece on d4. And he has a strong pawn on e4. So white is better here. And played bishop g3, though. He's breaking the pin. So I'm not sure, you really want to do that. But now we have the concrete issue of defending my weak pawn. Knight c5. The problem is my king is on the open file here. So I can't capture on e4 anytime soon. I need to castle first. Castle, like sack a pawn, bishop takes d6, rook e8, that's a little too speculative, I think. Close, but no cigar. Castles, bishop takes d6, rook e8. I don't see myself having quite enough compensation. But I guess just knight e5 is fine. Although ultimately that knight might get kicked away. There's an argument for knight c5. And knight c5 is more, yeah, it's more like a standard kind of King's Indian. Which maybe that's a little bit easier for me to handle. The knight e5, though typical in these Philidor lines, it always feels like more unstable. If this pawn was on c4, the position would be more, let's say, comfortable for me, because it looks just like a King's Indian. Here with the pawn on c3, things are not quite the same. His knight is very stable on d4. He has sometimes knight coming to like c4. So things are different. The other thing is that my knight, I guess it's still a strong outpost, but he could theoretically kick it out with b4. Now right here he could play b4, but he would weaken his whole long diagonal. I'm not sure that's something you want to do. Neil Skinner, just only problem is the clock. He's in trouble on time. It's only move 10, Neil Skinner. I think the next game is gonna be worse because Blue Crow is playing chess 960, and I find chess 960 to be really difficult because you have to spend a lot of time in the opening. Here we spent 8 minutes on the first 10 moves. Okay, it was an unusual line, a somewhat unusual line that I never play, and even still kind of rare at the higher levels. Pawn takes d4. Now I can go for his bishop. I think it's pretty much sound. It also opens up my bishop on g7. So we hunted down the dark squared bishop when I'm not sure I'm any better, but I'm definitely not worse. I mean, eliminating this better bishop for white should be a major achievement for black here. I think I'm out of any danger, and now I can try to play for some advantage. Queen f3. He's not interested in making any weaknesses. Maybe he wants to take with the queen on g3. I mean, the pawn captures perfectly toward the center and okay. Tactics, anyone? Nothing going on here tactically. I guess I should just take this guy. I don't have to take it right away, but what useful move do I have? a5 maybe. Gaining space, securing my knight on c5. Does seem reasonable. Although there's knight c4. I mean, I'm not really sure white's threatening b4 here. Is it necessary to play a5 and kind of weaken squares in my position? Probably not absolutely necessary. It's a little hard to come up with a plan. Queen b6. Where is this bishop going? To d7. He has knight c4. Some cheapos. We could play like queen g5, threatening to trap the queen almost. The almost queen trap. Alright. In the interest of keeping things simple, I'm going to take on g3. And queen takes. So now there is some pressure we have to deal with. I don't like that move. f3 is not good. Weakening your dark squares unnecessarily here. You already have a bad bishop. There's no need to play that. I think it's just simply a slightly weakening move. But there is knight c4. We're just a tiny bit better. I expected him to trade on e6 actually. Can change the pawn structure, bring his pawn toward the center. Not really my goal in life. But I don't know what to do. Now my a pawn. He's on my a pawn on a7 actually. I hate taking. It's not so easy for me. No. We're better here. Wow. Dr. Tension. Look at him go with the pawn tension. Well, it's just a blitz game. This is a very hesitant move. Mule Skinner, I didn't know when you became like the blitz expert. Oh, he dropped this pawn with check though. I hope my queen's not trapped. It's not trapped. This is a really bad idea. As is that. This is insane, dude. But I didn't know Mule Skinner was the type to like let his flag get down and then start playing increment blitz. Never really knew him for that. I was just winning a piece there. Jeez, it's awful, guys. Don't judge me by the blitz scramble here. This was pretty bad. So. Mule Skinner, it's pretty bad now. Yeah. I probably had mates, but I didn't have enough time to really worry about it. This was a bad end game played by both sides. I think he almost could trap my queen with rook a3 at one point, rook a3, but I didn't see a clear queen trap. Rook a3, queen b1, bishop c2, the queen gets away. But it was a little greedy to grab the pawn on a2. Anyway, very messy game. Let's play some chess 960. If you were to do it all over again, would you change the focus of your opening repertoire? Maybe if I was to do it all over again, Epithetos, if I was to start chess again from the beginning, I would start with really classical openings right away. E4, E5 with both colors, D4, D5 with both colors, because I started for my first years as a chess player. My first openings were really all hyper modern, the Sicilian, Indian defenses, and English with white. So in that sense, yeah, I think it would be better to start with the classics. It's hard to be a experienced player and have to like relearn the classics later. I think I would start myself over again as a classical opening player. Not to say that I would stay that way all the time, but I think it would be easier and more beneficial to learn straight up classical openings first. Due to watching your what? Sorry, little penguin. I just had time to check the chat. Due to watching a stream, I gained 99 points in the last 3 months. Really? 99 points? That's pretty good. But you're talking about are you talking about online or live chess? You skipped e45 and focused on the Sicilian one starting out. Blue Crow with an unusual move here, bishop h6. Kind of cool though. I mean, this way he's controlling 2 diagonals. Anyway, guys, this is kind of fast. I really should play a little quicker. I don't think we're gonna find too many games in the lichess opening database with this chess 960 opening. He went off. I think he went off charted territory with bishop h6. But I have to remember this is fast. This is 5-4. Mostly when I've played chess 960, it's been like 8 minutes, 7-minute games. The d2 pawn. D2 pawn. it is relevant. My queen is the Richard Reti type queen. This is a very hyper-modern approach by me. You can see my influence, right? I didn't try something classical straight up. Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is that we've got like the knights in the center. No rooks behind them. That's why maybe I was a little reticent to play. But it would be perfectly fine to play any kind of move like e4, d4. I think that's what most people would do. So my g3 is exceedingly hyper-modern choice, but perfectly okay. And then the knight d3 is nice. It overprotects f4. So we're choosing to play in a very hyper-modern style here. Now I'm a little worried about something in this position. Well, we can really try to put more pressure on the long diagonal, I guess. Knight c3. The question is, should I establish a central pawn, block my own bishop? I don't think so. Maybe bishop e3 is not so stupid, ironically. He could actually change and go back to g7 at any moment. So that's something to think about. Maybe I should take on e5. Okay, we could take on e5 at any point. Let's just play this. Our pieces are harmonious. Everyone's working. I don't really like the queen on h1 particularly. This is the best move, I think, or one of the best moves, because he could play e4 and shut me down. So I had prepared this, but I misevaluated something. I prepared for this, but I misevaluated it. So we've got a little problem. I cannot take on e5 because he can take on b2, d2, that is. I don't really want to allow that, so I guess I have to play e4 here. We're going to have to jettison the concept of the optimal pawn structure in this case. Allow myself to have I'm going to allow myself to have an isolated pawn. But as the position opens up, he could fall behind in development. I would prefer this is chess 960, guys, if anyone's wondering why the pieces are messed up. This is a variant of chess where the pieces are randomly shuffled on the back two ranks. Players begin the game like that. Also called Fischer random chess. So I would prefer longer time control with the chess 960 Plus because it's it really takes a lot of time to figure out where you're at in the opening in chess 960. So well, this is a bizarre position. That's all I can really say about it. I'm going to overprotect, man. You keep pounding my f4 square, and now we're I don't know why that point's so important in this position, but it is. It's a kind of random place. It's not the center, but it seems like that's what we're fighting for. Control of f4. Bishop c4. Provocative move from Plucro. And now another move. That looks, wow. That looks fluid, but at the same time a bit weird. No, I think I can just take here on f5 now. Reopening the long diagonal, and we are threatening to win a pawn on e5. Of course he can shred my pawn structure, but there's more than one principle at stake here. Pawn structure is one thing, but development is another. So he goes for that. I could take on e5 actually. Intermezzo. Intermezzo here is worth considering. It's really worth considering. All right, let's do it. We'll have some fun. I don't know. This is pretty bizarre. But it does feel like white is a move ahead in terms of development still. So that's some form of compensation for whatever pawn structure deficiency I might incur. if we have an isolated pawn or whatnot, it should be compensated by my slight lead in development. Now, that's the situation. So we're going to castle. Can't castle here. I need to move my rook first. I tried to castle. Oh my god, mother of mouse slips. I can castle, forgot about that. Mother of mouse slips. Maybe it's a great move. I don't think so. Not so bad. Look at him. Paschall, I didn't know you were so darn strategically minded. Problem is 2 pawns are hanging, you know, and we'll just go with the flow here. But Paschall with the ultra strategic approach. Well, anyway. Yeah, it was an accident, but it's cool. It's not that bad. I'll live with it. I just wanted to randomize the game a little bit with castling kingside. It was weird. I mean, it was even like an afterthought. I didn't even want to move my king at all at the last second, but that happened the other day when I was playing normal chess. There is still the potential to make slips here, the way the lichess pieces move. It's a little too easy. I thought maybe you shouldn't trade there, but it's okay. Safe enough. Ah, this was his plan. My king is close for the endgame. Alright. You're not castling kingside, sir. We have compensation for our ridiculous structure. I'm not sure if that's a good move. No, I was probably willing to take a draw by repetition there. But now it looks like black is worse. Basically, I didn't like this line, knight takes h7, knight c4. I wasn't sure. Actually, that's crazy. I should have taken the pawn on h7. Although he would have some compensation, pretty big compensation. Alright. Anyway. Probably worked out for the best. Not a lot of options. Wow. He's hanging on to his material. Well, I wouldn't resign. Can't you like play maybe a5 or, well, you're gonna lose 2 pawns. I guess if you're gonna lose both pawns, it's resignable, but I'm not sure you have to lose both. In any case, Paschall, I mean, I think it was just a bad move to play rook f7. If you go back with rook f8, rook e8, white is better, but I mean, my structure is so bad with this pawn on e3. I'm not sure that it's enough for white. Okay, fun anyway. We are going back to Epithetos. Epithetos 8-3. Yeah, I'll play 2 Chess 960 games per stream. I played e4 already. Let's play d4. But it was a mouse slip castle. I didn't even mean to castle at all. At that point I realized I couldn't castle queenside yet. So I just was moving my mouse over, but somehow I had clicked on the king prior, and it was still like I had still clicked on my king, so that's something they should probably modify with the lichess. I mean, I'm like thinking, like, you know, you're grabbing it and you're moving it, the piece. When you stop grabbing it, then it's like you're not grabbing it anymore, so you're not thinking about where you're clicking. Click and drag is fine by me, but once I put it back down, like in that case I put the king back down, it should take away the effect that I'm grabbing the piece, but it still remains as if I like picked it up already. Maybe it works like touch move. Lichess is actually touch move. I didn't know that. I don't think we need lichess to be touch move. All right, Epithetos. So I think the most complex of the Nimzo-Indian variations, e3, leads to kind of deep strategic play. Not really trendy. c5, one of the most aggressive moves for black. I don't know if I've ever had the what's it called, Rubinstein variation here on the stream. There was the famous game where I lost to Lembit-Ol in 15 moves in this line, where he had put some kind of weird psychic hex on me or something. Then he like committed suicide a month later. I felt this really weird aura coming off of him, like I was intimidated and scared, and he was like staring at me all weird. I knew there was something off about the guy. Very, very strong player, but like scary to play against. I never felt so intimidated by someone. I had prepared this weird variation that Ivan Sokolov had analyzed and played it for the first time against Ol, but he knew all the analysis and like just was totally ready for it, and then I dropped an exchange in this very obvious way that like any 1700 would have seen, and we were playing on the stage of the US Masters or something like that, and Alexander Ivanov came up to me and said, "Everyone saw it except you." You know, that really is what you need. You know, when you make a horrific blunder, you need somebody to come up to you and tell you like how everybody saw it except for you. It's a very feeling, kind of sensitive thing to do. Well, I guess we're actually in the aforementioned line, Epithetos. Come to think of it, you're playing like Lembit-Ol. It's been a long time since I played a game in this line. This is actually the game, I think. But I don't remember now the exact order of moves. Zenchess says, if you want to change it later, go to your name preferences, game behavior, and change it to drag a piece instead of both click and drag. Aha. You can disable point click. Thank you, guys. There is a really cool new feature where if you have auto queen on, you can hold down control key to under promote. That is a cool idea. So in this position, how was it now? Paschall played... I want to say he played like queen d7 at some point, but that doesn't seem like... It doesn't seem like he could have played queen d7 here. It's weird. Because somehow in my game with Paschall, the bishop like goes back to a5 and d8. And this is the line, and then I ended up losing the game because the bishop like came back to a5 around move 16 and like skewered an exchange or something weird. You know, I'm just not used to playing with the black bishop on d8. It was pretty freaky. In any case, back to the game. So I guess more typical way for black to play here. This is probably a much more common variation. Epithetos' following book. There was a game like Shirov, somebody. Giving up the bishop is more classical. I got confused when Paschall played like his bishop on d8. The position is really strange and irrational, and it's not a wonder I kind of like lost my way. But now knight e4, yeah, I guess this is all theory, right? I noticed that Epithetos seems to play the opening quite well. Was it you I was thinking of, Epithetos? Or somebody else? Maybe I'm confusing with another player on the stream, actually. I guess I'm confusing Epithetos with someone else. Who was it recently playing the opening really well against me? Not Epithetos. Sorry, Epithetos. I didn't mean to compliment you. No, it was somebody else who recently also started playing. Can't remember now. But I get confused between the different people from the same country. Not so many players are watching from the US because of the time. Epithetos is a US account. Obviously, it's very, very late there, depending where you are. So sometimes I get confused between different players because I'm thinking of them in terms of like which country they're from. I'm streaming from Hungary. Beautiful air pollution and smog here. It's actually sunny today. Didn't realize you were playing Epithetos. This is my main opening. Nimzo Indian. I think it was me that you complimented. IK Crowan. IK Corwin. Yeah, I was thinking of you, IK Corwin. You played the opening very well. Wow, you're pretty right about that. Knight to c6 here, putting pressure on d4. That's interesting. Interesting approach. Wow. Wow. Well, I guess there's all sorts of different things to do here. So many choices, so little time. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. Looks like the most natural plan for white. He wins the pawn back on d4. I mean, one would think this would be good for white. But it seems to me that the normal continuation is knight takes c3, b takes c, b6 at some point to break up the pawn chain. I think that's sort of standard. I mean, my inclination here would be that my queenside pawn majority should be kind of dangerous for black. two bishops and queenside pawn majority really feels like it's a pretty lasting kind of advantage. I talk a lot about bishops and knights, and I'm thinking a lot about reevaluating my approach to bishops and knights, because I think in the past I've been kind of biased toward overvaluing bishops, and in the last year or so I've been looking at it, really hard and thinking about every situation I get into critically. But when you've got an imbalance in the pawn structure like here, the bishops are very, very strong. If I have a queenside majority with the bishop pair, that's a combination that's exceedingly dangerous. Knights are not really good at stopping outside passed pawns, so he doesn't really want to get into a pure endgame where I have this queenside majority and a bishop pair. Blue Crow, thank you. We'll see you on Sunday, maybe. I've got a simul on Sunday here on lichess most weeks that I usually play for 20 players. We play 40-40 time control, and it usually takes about between 2.5 and 3 hours for the longest games. Okay, knight takes d4. Now queen takes d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop e3 was good for white. This way he doesn't trade queens, so he doesn't go into an endgame per se, which is probably a step in the right direction for white. Or black, excuse me. He also has essential pawns that could, these guys could, in some situations, compensate for his problems, the shortcomings of his position, let's say. I'm looking at like castles, f5. Black has a little bit of compensation in that kind of position. I guess I'll just play the obvious move here. But knight f5. I'm just wondering, in this kind of tactical ending, can I do something? The pawn on b7 is really problematic. Trading queens gives up the file, though, which I don't really want to do. I'd like to trade queens and play king e2. Is it viable though? Is it viable? Yeah. Problems, looks like. Trading queens, king e2, bishop d7, bishop takes b7, bishop b5 check, king, I don't know, f3, and like he even has rook b8. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't really make sense. I just don't know if I can hang on to my bishop pair here. Is it really worth it, to lose control of the open file? But maybe I can even do it. All right, let's trade queens, simplify the situation, then think about it. Bishop f4 is interesting, but it looks like anti-developmental. Bishop d2, a little safer. Seems like he has enough counterplay. Seems like he has enough counterplay in that line. So we're gonna play for this microscopic endgame advantage, like Peter Lako. The full-on Peter Lako with black would love this. There was possibly something better, but I'm not really sure. So here I was looking at the insane bishop d7, but I'm not convinced by it. Although this move, the text move, is a solid alternative. Very technical position. But I'm kind of low on the clock. But I'm keeping the bishops on here. He could have played bishop d7. I guess it's not clear if it was sound or not. Sacking that pawn on b7. His plan is to block the diagonal now. I don't know why he's thinking so long here. Looks like black has good defensive chances. Bishop d6 is nice, but a little bit dangerous because of b6. Maybe not. I don't know. But here, there could be some complications. Now he has this, of course. I didn't like f5, f4 there. Whoa. Okay, this is not what I expected. Bishop c6. He was threatening knight takes f4 check. Amazing defense. Excellent defense by black. Though he may have had knight takes f4. Bishop takes h7 check, king takes h7, bishop takes f4. Would have been approximately equal. Now I guess black's better here. Wow. Yeah, he's actually better. Bad bishop. Very awkward position for me. This last move was bad. King f2, king e2. This was a very bad move. I'm not going to offer a draw. That would be... Okay, I think you should have played rook b8 there. You had a really good opportunity. This may be winning. Now, white can possibly defend. It's still better for black. Not so easy. Excellent technique, though. Let's try to sacrifice a pawn here. Activate our bad bishop. Excellent game by black. He's kind of panicking a bit. He has knight b5 there. Epithetos, I didn't know you were like such a positional player. It seemed very different from your usual game. Now that almost trapping this guy, but because usually you're playing like it's bullet, and I'm thinking you're like a tactical player, but actually was really uber positional game today. Uber, German word. Kind of joking about M4-7 earlier. We really ought to play A4. But I wasn't expecting the Karpovian type of squeeze from Epthetos. A little technique goes a long way. This is very slimy kind of escape by me, and I'm not really proud of this game. We were just totally gone. Strategically crushed by Mr. Epthetos. Although it was time-induced. It was time-induced mistakes. Not like I was clueless, but he did outplay me. Between the board and the clock, I was very, very dead. Not much hope left here. No, there's increment, man. It's not good. I almost offered a draw, but I don't like offering draws in lost positions, you know. That's not really good etiquette. So, anyway, it's unrated, so who cares? Ultimately, about the result, yeah, good game though, good strategic game. You had me completely outplayed once you reached bishop versus, knight versus bishop. After bishop c6 though, you had equalized completely. So we go back to that position. It's very interesting. Let's take a look here for a second. I'm not going to take too long, but the opening is critical. It's a very important line here. Not that much theory. Bishop a5 is a move, but bishop takes c3, we go to this position, and I played here bishop d3. Strangely, this hasn't been played. It's like the most natural move on the board. According to the lichess database, it hasn't been played. Knight takes e4 may be good for white. Knight c6. There's two games. Nobody had the guts to take, so this is a new move. I thought that maybe white is better here, but I'm not sure. So knight takes d4. This is my game, and then this is the key position. Computer likes white. Queen takes, rook takes. What's next? Wow, my move. It actually thinks this is best. And then knight e7. But this blockading plan of knight d5, I didn't see how to break it down. So the computer is just going to take and go on the opposite color bishop position. That's the best it can do. But I think that black is equalizing. You know, it's basically a very, very technical game after rook d1, knight d5, something like that. Maybe b4. So good game anyway. Not really sure where I went wrong. Maybe I shouldn't go into that position. Maybe it's just not enough for white. But well played. Correct. So new position. IK Corwin. I'm going to try to play something different. I don't remember if he played the English against me before. Guys, we have time for 3 more games after this. So, Dway Kadera, Chef Master, and Zen Chess. King Hunter, I don't know if we'll have time for that. Here I've played a lot of different stuff. I'm playing more symmetrical English now, but I like to be able to play e5 sometimes. I also have played bishop b4. That's even popular even lately. I've seen some games with bishop b4. Bishop b4, knight d5, bishop c5, ironically. Sam Shanklin played that against me in Budapest years ago, and that was a draw. I never really thought bishop b4, knight d5, bishop c5 was so good, but some strong players have played that even recently. So knight f3, and I do against g3 play like the reverse Grand Prix attack sometimes with f5, but here it's not quite as good to play f5. f5, d4, e4, it's kind of a weird line, so we'll play classically. Zen chess. If you watch the Josh Whiteskin lectures, what are you talking about? You guys, have you seen my game? My win against Whiteskin? In the Josh Whiteskin lectures, he humbly put the game he lost against me in one of his Chess Master videos. Actually, that was like one of his last tournaments, I think, back in around 1999, 1998. E3, yes, IK Core 1. Who plays the opening? Well, why your rating is like 1500, but opening you play well. So E3, yeah, bishop b4. Once I lost really badly in that, but this is actually a good line for black. Maybe we'll play what I think is the best, but I don't know what white's gonna do. There are different lines for white: knight d5, queen c2. Well, knight d5 right away though is not supposed to be. Usually queen c2 castles, knight d5, rook e8, queen f5. That's a move invented by Michael Steen. No, it's not invented by Michael Steen. I guess he got credit for it, but Mihai Suba says that it was his like stolen idea or something. Again, like d4 is a rare move here. You're supposed to play queen c2. Well, that's the main line. And then if castles, knight d5, rook e8, and queen f5, I lost. It's not an easy position for black. Lost a team game once in that position, sadly. So d4 could transpose to a queen's gambit accepted. It could also transpose to French exchange variation. After like e takes d, d5. That looks like a kind of French exchange, actually. So this is pretty rare. Pretty rare position. e4, knight d2 looks like a decent French for white. I would imagine you could just maintain the tension here for black. Bishop takes c3, b takes c, d6. Looks pretty solid. One way to play. But again, the other way to play is to open the position with e takes d. There's even like knight e4 actually for black here, which should be okay. Looks kind of early. And also pawn takes pawn, knight e4 is even playable, I guess. Man, there's a lot of options. Alright, whatever. We'll just choose one at random. I mean, this is essentially depending on what white does. I mean, knight takes d4, that's something else. But e takes d is a queen's gambit accepted, French exchange type position. Yeah, just always be wary of what links you guys click on. At least like double check the address before you click on it. And just randomly click on links in the stream. I'm not taking responsibility for the links that people put up there. But I'm not going to forbid people from linking stuff. So d5. Basically exchange French with c4. I think this is possibly a main line. You gain a tempo here, half a tempo, whatever you want to call it, taking on c3. I'm not sure that white has any other moves though in that position. You know, he can't just waste time. I could actually play. You could actually play maybe queen e7. Queen e7 check, but then bishop e3. I was just working with someone who said they played this variation. I don't really know the theory. I think knight e4 is a move. That looks kind of dangerous though. It almost like it could transpose. It looks like it could transpose to like a Muller attack of the Joko piano. Something like knight e4, castles. It looks very similar as far as piece configuration. But we've been talking a lot, so we're pretty far behind on the clock. Dude, custom mods. You two guys are like, what are you guys doing? It's alright to spam the chat a little bit. Just don't get totally out of control. Castles. Yeah, I mean, I think knight e4 is a move there. But I'm concerned with falling behind in development. No, am I going to grab a pawn after castles? I think once I actually played this line for white by some strange... Yeah, I remember now. It was a Hungarian Team Championship game. And I lost to a low-rated master with white because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I don't recall. Maybe it was an exchange. Maybe it was a Queen's Gambit accepted. That would make the most sense. Right. So that's what this is a Queen's Gambit accepted. Or French exchange. Bishop e3 looks pretty standard, but I would think castling would be the first priority for white, given the opportunity to do so there. He's more worried about his pawn on d4. I'm just not really sure what I'm supposed to do here. So many different possibilities. Bishop g4 looks very logical. Solving my development issues. But this is probably one of these variations that leads to a lot of liquidation by exchanges. Though typically I think you're supposed to play h3 and stop that from happening. So I could take on f3, take on d4. Probably equalizes. I would imagine this equalizes for black, but maybe only equalizes. Not really sure. But then again, I really should have thought this through a little bit deeper. Have to be careful now. Maybe c5. Otherwise, I might drop material. I definitely have better ways to play this, though. That's weak. I don't think you should trade bishop takes d4. You know, you've got the bishop pair. It looks like, besides the fact that you could potentially lose a pawn here, you don't want to give up the bishop pair here. I mean, you have, as I was talking about earlier, opposite color bishops isn't enough, you know. And secondly, probably you have an imbalanced pawn structure with a bishop pair. This is exactly the kind of situation I was talking about earlier. If it was symmetrical, the bishop pair might not mean as much, but here I think white's advantage is significant. Just a good move like rook d1, and white is better. But now he snuck a pawn on me with bishop takes f7. Wow, I missed that. Akor. Then I gotta take it back. I guess then it makes sense. If you have this bishop takes f7, then it's reasonable. Pretty strong, man. But I have good drawing chances, even a pawn down, because of the opposite color bishops. Still. Well, he's giving me my pawn back, it looks like. Kind of you to do so. The queen and knight are a good combination, but I still think white's better. The bishop's pretty strong in this position. So white still, I would argue white still has an upper hand here. Yeah, he's losing on time. Looks pretty good. We take a look at the opening. I expect white played pretty well, but I thought h3 was more typical. Bishop d3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, castles, castles. Yeah, this is a bit weird. Most people castle here, so I was surprised by bishop e3. It's not a bad move. And then we transpose into another line. There's a lot of draws here, and everybody plays rook b8. Like I would never know that. Wow. So this is just bad. What I did: bishop takes g4 takes f3. You have to you have to know what you're doing here. a6, rook b8, queen d7. Not really familiar with the line. Okay, Dwayne Cadera is next up. He has a good score, 50% against me. Are we playing? Yes. This is how I aborted the game with Epithetos yesterday. I just started the game and then aborted. I didn't realize I was playing. Sometimes we have Ivanchuk type of moments. You can't get past 20 moves with me. You were clearly better. It's pretty interesting. So g6, clearly better after 15 moves, and I think you could have made it past move 20 if you really wanted to, but too slow, apparently. C takes d, and this is a modest way of playing for white, but I like this. I like this setup. The bishop in general in this kind of exchange Slav is dead, so I think white has a little pull, as they say. But again, I don't know that line, so this subtle move like rook b8 wouldn't be something I would ever find, probably without studying that variation. But my judgment was bad because I thought that I had enough compensation for my structure, but usually white plays h3 at some point to stop bishop g4 in that variation. So I thought, well, it must be correct to play bishop g4. But finding a move in that position instead of bishop takes f3 wasn't that easy. Maybe you've played that position before. I am Minky. For me, probably the first time with black. Although I did play the Queen's Gambit, accepted a little bit. Queen a5 is a very strange move from Dway Cadera. This is no pin, and the queen can be exploited maybe by a3, b4. But having said that, it's not that bad. Even if I get in a3, b4, it's not the end of the world for black. I don't like this line for black. But 94 here, huh? Never ever seen anything like this before. Wow, it looks pretty good. Queen a5 followed by 94. Not your typical variation. Looks like it makes sense. White's done nothing wrong. Now I have to allow change in structure. Because knight takes e4, d takes e4, white has nothing. Because of the threat of e5. So it looks like here I have to play queen d5, something to that effect. Queen b3 threatening d5 is what I was trying to say. And I usually don't allow this changing in the structure in this line, but I don't see what else I can do. And black may be equalizing here. He's still kind of tied down to d5. I'm not even sure I'm threatening that. You know, it's like a typical Tarash trap. Knight takes d5, bishop e6. But Dway Cadera has 50% score against me. We've got half an hour left, so this game and maybe Chef Master and Zen Chess should be the maximum. Depends on how long this game takes, guys. How many more games we're going to play. But openings look like you guys are pretty good. Dway Cadera here is surprising me. I mean, I've never seen anything like Queen a5 and 94. I've probably played 30 games in my life against good players in blitz in this line, and I've never ever once seen something like Queen a5 and 94. So that's an interesting concept to come up with. I mean, that's something that I just couldn't envision coming up with without preparing it in advance. Instantly, b6. This idea of freeing the bishop. Is there a tactical problem here? What about this? Once I did this with black and I got my queen trapped on a5. And that I would imagine is a real serious possibility around here. But not exactly the same situation. I did it to myself in a Pana Botvinnik, Karo Khan. Playing queen a5 and b6 behind. You know, how can I get him? Bishop back to d2, trapping the queen. Or knight d2, trapping the queen via b3 or c4. Looks like he's asking for it, but I just find it difficult to see exactly how I'm going to trap him. With the pawn on d5. It's close. You'd have to like clear the way for bishop d2. I just think it's kind of, it's an illusion. I mean, it's just too hard to organize e4 or c4, whatever it's going to take, without him disrupting me at some point from this plan of trapping the queen. Not so easy to do. I think I should focus on strategic factors here. Maybe playing for c4. Wanted to play c4. Maybe I should play it right away. The problem is my bishop is unprotected. He has all sorts of tactics that work perfectly for black here. Like bishop b5, bishop b7. Queen takes d5, just too dangerous to even conceive of. So his queen can't move. I'd like to play c4. And then again, he has bishop a6 at any moment. What if we play bishop b5, then c4? And he has like intermezzo with a6. Good position no matter what he does. Like there's nothing he can, there's no mistake he can make here. It's sort of amazing. Just sort of, position just sort of plays itself for black, no matter what I do. Just absolutely plays itself. Okay, rook a c1, rook f c1. Maybe rook a c1 to get off the long diagonal. I don't like this rook opposite opposite that rook, opposite the bishop on g7. Oftentimes I play rook f c1, but I don't like the tactical possibilities there. You guys, just don't spam the chat too much. I don't mind if you're fooling around a little bit, but I'm actually trying to concentrate on playing well chess here. Bishop b5 now. Bishop b7 again. c4. Bishop a6. c4, bishop a6, then what do I do? You know, he's got the perfect position. I don't know, Dwayne Cadera, it's got an even score against me. He's 2200 in bullet. That's pretty strong. But I can't seem to get anything against him. Once I did beat him, but it was a really tough struggle. Queen b5, nothing. c4, bishop a6. Am I worse? Why am I worse? Like, never seen anything like this. It should be a good variation for white, but it looks like I'm worse. I have to play something ridiculous like bishop b5 and c4. Queen a4. Just like, I might as well just resign here. Be very fortunate if I don't lose this game. It looks like black just plays perfectly. No way to trap his queen on a5. I'm worse structurally with a backward c pawn. Don't know what I did wrong. But this is very, very interesting. Queen a5, never ever seen this plan. I'm very curious to see if this has ever been played in a tournament game. The idea with queen a5. Because it's like ingenious. Looks like a good Grunfeld for black. Here I did miss something though. I thought that after a6 I had to play bishop takes c6 and then black's like just better, but it's not that clear at all because I have this in between move, c takes d, and also sometimes there's bishop c7. So I'm in sort of desperate time pressure here. But there's a couple of tactical, there are several tactical possibilities. This and this. I'm not sure if it's enough. I mean, it seems like white should have been slightly better, but I'm fighting for equality. All right, dude. Dude, I don't know why Custom Mods is being such a smart ass in the stream here. But I'm just asking you not to constantly spam. You're the only person that's like constantly spamming in the chat, so it's just kind of rude. I try to play serious, and people are trying to learn chess. So, well, rook c8. It's an excellent move. You know, it's kind of rude. I mean, not a big deal though. Whatever you want to do. I'm gonna lose on time, it looks like. But Dwayne Cadera is super strong. I'm glad it's not a rated game. This is just clearly better for black. Barely hanging on. Why would you retreat there? He had bishop d5 right there. Man, this is a beautiful game by black. Perfect play. We're just lucky not to lose. I don't know how much stronger. It's like I'm playing a really, really strong master, but he let me off the hook a little bit. I think he had bishop d5 instead of bishop e8. But I'm happy with the draw here, if I can just hang on. It was a little distracting dealing with the trolling in the stream, but it's alright. Not really respectful. That's cool. That wins a pawn, clean. Maybe the file... Nope, nothing. I guess I can just resign here. Basically just resigns. He's now going to have a plus score against me. Good game. Very, very nice game. Excellent play by Black. Well-deserved victory. Alright guys, last game for the day, it looks like. Chef Master. Unless this is fast, then I'll have time for one more. So, Trompowski. We got absolutely crushed by Dwayne Cadera. That was an instructive game. It was a lesson for me anyway. Normally, bishop takes f6 or sometimes c3 or even... what else? Yeah, that's about it. Even d takes c is a variation. Zen Chess, are you the bubble? What we needed was a new troll, because we don't have enough already. That's good. Bishop e2, that's kind of quiet. I don't think Chef Master, maybe... Nothing wrong with it, but maybe... You could try c4 or... Playing for bishop d3, though. Come to think of it, this position be more usual to play maybe c3 and think about meeting queen b6 with like queen b3. Here though he can play it like a pawn sacrifice. If I play queen b6, he can probably sacrifice the b2 pawn. Another Queen's Gambit accepted theme. Just gonna play quietly. Wow. Wow. Nice. Nice guy. So, absolutely banned. Yeah, I don't really appreciate people behaving like children in my chat. And being like belligerent and rude. it's enough. So goodbye. E takes d4. White's got chances for sort of a strong hanging pawns position. Now my queen on b6 may be misplaced. Okay, this guy is just not stopping. How can I just ban someone on Twitch forever? Damn, dude. He's just totally destroying my stream. This guy, Custom Mods, just keeps trolling me in private chat. What an absolute classless person. Unbelievable. That's the kind of behavior that we get here. Kind of level of human being is really, really high. Like hateful individual with nothing to do. It's an absolutely vicious troll. Anyway, I got a little bit distracted in this game. Sorry, guys. I don't insult people on their streams. I would never do something like that. I have a little bit of counterplay against this, the d4 pawn. So disgusting for a human being to like treat other people like that. It's just... But our moderator is ill or missing. That's what's the problem today. So the various trolls have been taking advantage of that. Anyway, guys, I'll see you for my Sunday simul on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. CET. So, Chef Master, I don't know what he's thinking about here. Looks like he has a good game. Just defend the knight on c3. Bishop takes e7, yeah. Followed by something like rook c1. But it's like I'm playing this really, really difficult game, and the dude just continues to troll. Like, because he's not even paying attention to what we're doing here, you know. That's what kind of pisses me off. I mean, we're really trying to like do something with chess, and to just disrespect the streamer by, anyway, forget about it. You have no concept what's going on. Good move, queen c2. White's just clearly better here. Every single opening I'm getting a bad game. This is like the 4th one in a row where I'm just completely outplayed in the opening. I like white here. I don't have any break. I can't play b6. Can I play b6? Knight takes e4, pawn takes e4. It's like a pawn sacrifice maybe. Knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, followed by bishop b7. This looks really dangerous. Yeah, but it's like in the middle of my game, I'm getting private chats from this guy. It's just extremely annoying. All right. So, Chef Master looks interesting. I thought I'd sacrifice a pawn here for some compensation, but I don't think it's enough. It may be, though. We have rook c8. I kind of borrowed this idea from an earlier game where I was playing... actually, the game I was worse against Iamiki. No, Epithetos, sorry. My game against Epithetos, kind of similar sort of concept. A little bit of compensation. Threatening knight takes d4. And maybe it's not bad. But I do see something I don't like here. Yeah, it took me forever to block him. But I'm sure he'll be back with a new account tomorrow. You know, so it's very frustrating dealing with the trolls here on Twitch. They can just create endless new accounts. So what good does it do to block them? Chef Master playing queen h4. He just went into panic mode. He had a really good game. I would say like almost clearly better for white. So anyway, guys, we'll do the stream simul on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. CET, and next week, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. CET, Central European Time. It's the same as GMT plus 1, in other words. Greenwich Mean Time plus 1. Old Lady Gran. Are you a friend? I really don't care, dude. But I'm trying to play a game with like 11 seconds, and I want to like focus on the game. The guy's just spamming my stream and then rude about it. What do you expect? Like, should I be happy? I don't know what he expects me to do. That's what trolls do. They prey on our getting angry, which is what I did. So Chef Master, still there's no win for me. I'm clear pawn up. Not been an easy going today. I had a really bad rough time. A lot of bad positions, a lot of bad openings, and struggled. So maybe we have to work on the openings a little bit. You guys are making me feel like my openings aren't good enough. Dwayne Cadera in particular, basically just crushing me in an exchange Slav with black. I had no idea what I was doing. That's a bad sign when you get crushed on the white side of an exchange Slav. That's not a good sign. But time. Oh, man, it's just so hard to put people away. I was thinking maybe bishop f3. This still doesn't do anything, actually. I have to stop trying to play perfectly and just play practically. So he can win his pawn back. Play g4. Fix the pawns on the queen side. Now he's threatening f3, which is pretty nasty. I don't want to allow him to play f3. I don't care about this pawn on h4. That's a gift. A gift for white. But my mistake was thinking that the guy was a good guy, you know. Misjudged him. If I knew it was a troll, I wouldn't have wasted my time. But that's my error. So it is still not mate, but we are winning a rook or some other heavy piece. Chef Master had a great opening. Just out of curiosity, one last thing to check this opening here, Chef Master. Not the opening right away, but later on you had a really good position. I think after a few more moves, right about here, c4. I thought c4 was reasonable, but knight c3, rook d8. This move's kind of debatable. c5, queen c7, and now you do have knight b5 in this position, which is interesting. After knight e4, I thought I was in trouble here, but maybe not. Bishop takes, queen takes. Maybe I underestimated my own position too much. It's quite interesting. Pawn sacrifice, b6. Is this sound? Apparently, it's sound, but white's still a tiny bit better. Knight takes e4. That's the game. Knight takes e4, d takes e4, queen takes e4, bishop b7. And now, in this tense position, Chef Master, I guess you have queen e3 or rook c1 or something like that. This is a hard move to find, rook c1, because what you're gonna do, you're gonna play like knight takes d4, c6. That's not possible. What is the idea here? Rook a c1 or rook f c1? Rook a c1, knight takes d4, and what, c6? My goodness. So finding that idea is pretty tough to do. I think I would have played, if I was Chef Master, I would have played queen e3 in this position. He freaked out and played queen h4, but it looks like he's still better with queen e3. And it's not clear because it protects c5. I may not have enough compensation. I have some compensation, but it's not really sure that I have enough for the sacrificed pawn. So Chef Master, just the time pressure, got to him with queen h4. But otherwise, interesting game. We'll see you guys on Sunday. And we will be back for that simul on Sunday at 11:30 CET. Bye-bye.